If I can remember what it was that I skipped out on recording this afternoon. I know that part of it was just the shortcut keys. If you hold the shift button down and the middle button down, or click the middle button, you can drag, like I'm dragging upwards and it's zooming in fast. Drag downwards, it zooms out fast. If you hold the control key and click the middle button, you can pan left and right pretty fast. So if you didn't know those, now you do. I think the rest was that you following a procedural approach in all that you do in CAD is absolutely vital. So start off with a very simple shape. So maybe let's just go like this. Start off with a simple shape. Don't put any radii in. Don't put any edge radii or corner radii. Add those in later. Then of course you can cut. So do the basic shapes first. Then you would put in any tapers if you needed to, which I don't have here. And then after that you can put in the fillets, chamfers, etc. Okay, I've got a draft in here, but that's just to illustrate one thing, one little part, which I'm actually not going to deal with in this lesson. We'll have to deal with it at a late stage. I think that was the sum of it. When we hop over to the drawing, it's pretty much the same thing, that you need to think of dimensioning, which is what we just did in the first lesson. You need to think of dimensioning in terms of the basic shapes, and then the added bits and pieces like the edge radii, tapers, chamfers, corner radii. Those are added bits, right? So I think I started off talking about this as being a really just a square or a rectangle, not a square. And then what I didn't explain was that corner radii like this, you don't give positions to, because it's implied. So it's one of those. Okay, I cannot get this program to give me a dimension. That'll do. I know why. Okay, so just watch this. The reason I can't do that is because that's not a true view. So this is something else we'll address later on. It's because I haven't placed my center line exactly on the center. So if I could get it there, section view, then I might get a dimension. Let's see. Yes, there we go. Alright, so that's an important lesson to maybe just remember as well. If your section view doesn't sit at a tangent to what it's cutting, you won't get a true view. So then Solidworks is going to say, well, I don't know what to dimension, because I don't have anything which is tangent. Does that make sense to everyone? Is that a yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Phil,
Yes.
is there any way you could dimension that radius from the top view?
Yes, except it contradicts to me a principle in that you should only dimension in a view in which you can see the feature being dimensioned.
True.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here I can see there's a curve. So let's just contrast that with this one here. That there is a chamfer. What's the difference between those lines and these lines here? Why isn't that a chamfer?
No, true. Could it be like very convenient though for actually manufacturing it? If you just had the top view and it could say, hi, you need to countersink this to this depth with this angle, and then you need to add a radius to these?
Well, once again, all the features that you need to dimension in regarding the depth and all the features in that view are in this view, not in this view. So yes,
okay, fair.
yes, no, okay, fair enough. You could actually put in a note here. You could put in slots. Yeah, you could. No, you absolutely could. But then it would be, yeah, no, you could do that. You could. But then it's kind of wasting the, to me it's wasting the section view functionality. The point of the section view invariably, so I've got a section view here, is to blow this up and to expose those features for inspection and for understanding of what's going on. And visually this is just much more explanatory. It's just, you're just making it clearer. So technically,
perfect, thanks.
Technically, yes, you could indeed. You could go to annotation, you could put in a note here, you could say slot, and then you'd put in the diameter sign, wherever that is. Here it is here. Diameter, whatever, no, yeah. No, so you wouldn't do diameter. Slot, it says 4.0 blind, and then yes, edge radius 1.5. Yeah, acceptable. Acceptable. Except it doesn't. Yeah. Once again, it's a bit of a problem in explaining where the radius is. It's just clearer here. But yeah, that's a good point. There are places where you'd go to in work where they'd actually want it like that. But let's say for my drawing office, this is what I want. Okay. Right, so that's that done. Yes, so there was a very big point that I wanted to make here, is that there are some kinds of dimensions that are just illegal in every possible way, and they come with maybe having been told that you can do them like this. Like, for instance, I've seen that people doing this. Okay, now that's just not a dimension. That's dimensioning a line segment. It's giving me what that line segment is. There's no way that I can use this dimension to make this item from. That would be another illegal dimension. It makes no sense whatsoever. This is going back to my point of, you have to be able to picture this item here as essentially this item, and then you add the radii in. So remember, I don't know, some of you will remember, or most of you should remember this, the way in which we put in a virtual sharp is that you select the two lines, and then you push in, you select the lines by holding the shift button down, or was it control, I never remember, and then you put in a virtual sharp. Right, so the virtual sharp at the moment is this little shape. I will change that when I give you question. Yeah. Who was that?
It was Gabriel.
Yes.
Sorry.
No problem. What did you want to ask, Gabriel?
Sorry, it was a problem on my end, so I'll just...
Okay, so it wasn't a question. So let's do that again. So I'm going to select at shift select. Let's try that again, because maybe it's control select as well. Never can remember. Yeah, it's control select or shift select. Alright, so there my two virtual sharps are. Now, if you think about it, these two shapes here, these two little points, coordinates, are the same as these 2 points here, 1, 2, before we put the radii in. That's all they are. So that's all you're doing by putting a virtual sharp in, is you're saying, how do I represent what this shape looked like before we put the radii in? Because that's the shape that I need to dimension. So for instance, we actually don't need this one, we only need the top one, depending on what you're doing. But like, if I want to know what's the theoretical height, that virtual sharp allows me to do that. So let's go across to this one. This is exactly the same shape without that radius. You'll see that's also 9. Okay, so let's do it in this one as well, just so that you can see what's going on. 9, 9, or 45. So if I go from there to that virtual sharp, it's also 9. So that's essential. Please, you must dimension, you have to just keep remembering that you must dimension the feature without these added geometric features added in. So you can't dimension this line. So another thing I saw, you can't dimension from there to this point here, or that one, it doesn't matter, that one there, or I'm not going to be able to get it. I think you get the point. Let's just put a point in here. Right, so if I could, in fact I can. Let's make these angry red. Oh, we're missing all sorts of buttons. Okay, setup isn't right. These are wrong. These are just flat out wrong. Don't do them. Don't make me angry. Don't put them in. Put in your virtual sharps and then you'll be happy. Now let's see what happens. Whoops. Now let's see what happens. Nope, it's not going to do it. Okay. I was hoping to drag select. Let's see what happens if we push the magic button. Oh, look at that. Oh, 9. Put that virtual sharp back in. That's 9. And that's 18. So, all your problems will be solved by simply using the magic button. Just remember that. Okay? So, under annotation, the second button, it's your friend. Because it does it all for you. It figures out, it's intelligent. It won't put in any line segment dimensions. There it's actually done it. Gabriel's actually put in the radius 3 on the drawing for you in that view. So, and there's the angle, and it's giving you just the right number of dimensions. You don't have to worry about putting any extra. It's actually putting the overall dimensions. It's actually, okay, so here's something to watch for. It's putting a dimension, that 8 millimeters comes from my drawing. So watch this, because it's another thing that I don't want to see. If I see dimensions that point to nothing, then I think, okay, you're not doing your job. That's not what a designer does. Those dimensions come from my drawing, my sketch, and they are present because I positioned this shape relative to that line there by using 8 and 10 instead of, so it's actually carried those dimensions through. So sometimes you have to watch the magic button, what it does, because it'll actually take all your dimensions through. So sometimes you have to remove some of them. Any questions about that? You're all going to produce super spectacularly good engineering drawings from now on. Am I right?
Yes, hopefully.
You are, hey? Because you're gonna produce super spectacular sketches for me in your modeling, and then you don't even have to worry about what it's going to look like when it comes through to your engineering drawings. Am I right? Okay, I think that's enough for today. So I'm going to give you some exercises to model up and dimension, and see how you do with them. I'm not going to give you marks for them. They're going to be things where I'll just give you an impressionistic mark, and they'll be, I forget the term for it, but it's like a formative mark. So formative marks. Okay, so you must do them. So I'm going to give you a mark for submitting them. If you don't submit them, then you don't get that mark, and it will count a little bit towards your final mark. But the actual mark I'm going to give you is just to give you an idea of how you're doing without it counting towards the end of the year.